Epic History TV, history of Russia, from tribes to czars. I've always wanted to learn more about Russian history. It's one of my favorite historical topics alongside Napoleon and colonial era history. So I look forward to this. Let's get into it.
For thousands of years, the lands known today as Russia and Ukraine were inhabited by nomadic tribes and mysterious Bronze Age cultures. The only record they left were their graves. In the great open grasslands of the south, the steppe, they buried their chieftains beneath huge mounds called kurgans. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus called these people Scythians.
Oh, I've heard this term before. Scythians. Where have I heard this before? Let's see.
Their lands were overrun by the same nomadic warriors who brought down the Roman Empire. The land was then settled by Slavs. They shared some language and culture, but were divided into many different tribes. Vikings from Scandinavia, known in the east as Varangians, rode up Russia's long rivers on daring raids and trading expeditions. According to legend,
Okay, so hold on a minute. The Dnieper River and the Don River and the Volga River, how in the world were they able to raid this? Right? It doesn't connect to a main ocean. How were they able to raid this? How in the world were they able to transport it? Or should I say, how in the world were they able to transport shit? That's better. Well, no. Yeah, how? Did they go through the Black Sea? But they came from Scandinavia, didn't they? What? My brain isn't braining. Someone answer that for me, please.
the East Slavs asked a Varangian chief named Rurik to be their prince and unite the tribes. He accepted and made his capital at Novgorod. His dynasty, the Rurikids, would rule Russia for 700 years. His people called themselves the Rus and gave their name to the land. Rurik's successor, Oleg, captured Kiev, making it the capital of a new state, Kievan Rus. A century later,
Oh my goodness. This is where the controversy comes in, y'all. This is where the controversy comes in. I watched the interview with Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, and it sounds similar to what Putin was saying, but yo, this is where the controversy comes in. I'm not really gonna say much about that, but yo, if you got an opinion, say it. I want to hear it. Because this is, again, I'm very interested in Russian history, fam. So, you know, if you got anything to tell me, tell me. I would love to hear it. I would love to hear these stories, what you people know. I love listening to this type of stuff, fam. But yeah, man, this is controversial.
seeking closer ties with the Byzantine Empire to the south, Vladimir the Great adopted their religion and converted to Orthodox Christianity. He is still venerated today as the man who brought Christianity to Ukraine and Russia.
Okay, so based on what I am seeing here, I don't want to say it, but Ukrainians and Russians, bro, based on what I'm seeing so far, they seem to be the same, right? Again, controversy. Don't want to say too much, but based on what I'm seeing, I rest my case.
Yaroslav the Wise codified laws and conquered new lands. His reign marked the golden age of Kievan Rus. It was amongst the most sophisticated and powerful states in Europe. But after Yaroslav's death, his sons fought amongst themselves. Kievan Rus disintegrated into a patchwork of feuding princedoms, just as a deadly new threat emerged from the east. The Mongols under Genghis Khan.
Okay, so before the Mongols come, okay, so was Kiev Rus or Kievan Rus, whatever the hell you want to call it? I don't know, freaking Russian, Ukrainian accent, whatever. Was it a centralized state before it started to decentralize here? Because right here, right, it's fractured, right? So based on what I saw just now, he described Epic History TV, described Kiev Rus as a central state, right? Right? That's what I'm getting, right? Because I heard a different video of someone discussing about Kiev Rus, and they were like, oh, Russian and Ukrainian are different peoples. Kiev Rus was a very decentralized state, so yes, it was a state, but it wasn't very like central. So there were different groups, and they weren't really like together. Interesting. So Kiev Rus was like a centralized state. Ooh. Very interesting. That gives me a whole different perspective.
Had overrun much of Asia. Now they launched a great raid across the Caucasus Mountains and defeated the Kievan princes at the Battle of the Kalka River, but then withdrew. 14 years later, the Mongols returned. A gigantic army led by Batu Khan overran the land. Cities that resisted were burnt, their people slaughtered. The city of Novgorod was spared because it submitted to the Mongols. Its prince, Alexander Nevsky, then saved the city again, defeating the Teutonic Knights at the Battle of the Ice, fought above a frozen lake.
Bro, the Mongols were crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's interesting how they gave you a chance. They gave you a chance. They're like, yeah, submit to us. We'll give you a chance. You know, it's crazy how they showed mercy. A lot of kingdoms back then would not do that. But they were brutal as hell to people who resisted.
He remains one of Russia's most revered heroes. The Mongols ruled the land as conquerors. Their new empire was called the Golden Horde, ruled by a Khan from his new capital at Sarai. The Rus princes were his vassals. They were forced to pay tribute or suffer devastating reprisal raids. They called their oppressors Tatars. They lived under the Tatar yoke. Alexander Nevsky's son, Daniel, founded the Grand Principality of Moscow, which quickly grew in power. Under the great Uzbek Khan, the Tatars converted to Islam. A rising power, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania defeated the Tatars at the Battle of Blue Waters and conquered Kiev. 18 years later, Dmitry Donskoy, Grand Prince of Moscow, also defeated the Tatars at the Great Battle of Kulikova Field.
We, the people of the United States.
We've moved so far away from the Constitution that in many
Wow. Wow. I know I'm not saying a lot, but wow, I'm actually learning a lot right now. I didn't even know the Grand Duchy of Lithuania occupied Moscow at one point. Wow, there's a lot that I don't know. I thought Moscow was already a thing before the Mongols came. Moscow was established during the Mongol times when Kiev Rus was basically a vassal state of the Golden Horde. I thought, okay.
After years of infighting, the Golden Horde now began to disintegrate into rival khanates. Constantinople, capital and last outpost of the once great Byzantine Empire, fell to the Turkish Ottoman Empire. Some hailed Moscow as the Third Rome, the seat of Orthodox Christian faith. Now Rome and Constantinople had fallen. Meanwhile, the Grand Princes of Moscow continued to expand their power, annexing Novgorod and forging the first Russian state. At the Ugra River, Ivan III.
Okay, so he just said the first Russian state. Wasn't Kiev Rus technically the first Russian state? And I'm not saying like Russian as in like modern day Russian. I'm saying Russian as in like Rus, because, and you can quote me on this, I say that Ukrainian people are also Rus, like Russian people, Ukrainian people, Belarusian people. They're all Rus, right? I wouldn't really say that they're the same, but they're all Rus. Okay, that's very, very... it's confusing as hell, I know. But they're all Rus, yes, but... saying that Moscow was carving the first Russian state... Again, bro, yo, there's so much, like, propaganda, right? And so many sides, like, giving their own perspective. Because, dude, I have seen, like, the Ukrainian perspective on this. I have seen the Russian perspective on this. And it's like, holy crap, man. It's like, I can't really, like, disagree with them. Like, the only thing that I could come to a definitive conclusion is that Ukrainian people and Russian people, or should I say, Russian people are like Muscovites. So I should basically like say like Ukrainian people and Muscovite people, they're all Rus, right? And Belarusian people, they're all Rus, right? Are they the same? In my personal opinion, no. I think they're quite different because of their histories. Because as you can see right here, Moscow was a Mongol. If what he said is true, Moscow is basically like a Mongol city. In a sense, right? If what he's saying is true. Again, if I'm saying something inaccurate, please correct me. And then you have Poland, who subjugated Kiev, right? Or Kiev, right? So yeah, after that period of time, clearly both of them diverged. Although they're... although culturally speaking, they're extremely similar. And they can't understand each other, so...
of Moscow faced down the Tatar army and forced it to retreat. Russia had finally cast off the Tatar yoke. Under Grand Prince Vasily III, Moscow continued to grow in size and power. His son, Ivan IV, was crowned the first Tsar of Russia. He would be remembered as Ivan the Terrible. Ivan conquered Tatar lands in Kazan and Astrakhan, but was defeated in the Livonian War by Sweden and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Ivan's modernizing reforms gave way to a reign of terror and mass executions, fueled by his violent paranoia. Russia was still vulnerable. Raiders from the Crimean Khanate were able to burn Moscow itself. But the next year, Russian forces routed the Tatars at Molody, just south of the city. Cossacks now lived on the open steppe, a lawless region between three warring states.
Okay, so Ukrainian people like to say that their origins are from Cossacks, right? That's what I heard. So, okay, this is going to be interesting.
They were skilled horsemen who lived freely and were often recruited by Russia and Poland to fight as mercenaries. Ivan the Terrible's own son, the Tsarevich, fell victim to one of his father's violent rages, bludgeoned to death with the royal scepter. The Cossack adventurer Yermak Timur.
That's crazy. That's holy crap. I know I'm not saying anything because I'm like analyzing all of this right now. Again, Russian history is very interesting to me. So usually in my reactions, I would actually give like reactions, right? And don't get me wrong, I am reacting, but I'm like paying attention, I'm processing everything right now. So if I'm like a little bit quiet, don't think I'm just not doing anything. I'm processing everything.
Timofeyevich led the Russian conquest of Siberia, defeating Tatars and subjugating indigenous tribes. In the north, Arkhangelsk was founded, for the time being Russia's only seaport linking it to Western Europe, though it was icebound in winter. Ivan the Terrible was succeeded by his son, Fyodor I, who died childless. It was the end of the Rurikid dynasty. Ivan's advisor, Boris Godunov, became Tsar. But after his sudden death, his widow and teenage son were brutally murdered, and the throne seized by an impostor claiming to be Ivan the Terrible's son. He too was soon murdered. Russia slid into anarchy, the so-called Time of Troubles. Rebels and foreign armies laid waste to the land, and the population was decimated by famine and plague. Polish troops occupied Moscow. Swedish troops seized Novgorod. The Russian state seemed on the verge of extinction.
Yo, I've heard about the times of troubles, man. I've heard about the times of troubles, but I didn't know about it in details. I know about the part with Poland occupying Moscow, though. But yo, that is... ooh. Alright, so 8 minutes. Usually I react to much longer Epic History TV type of videos, but it's only 8 minutes. Wow. One of my shortest reaction videos. You know, yo, if you like people reacting to Russian history, I'm your guy, bro. I like learning about Russian history. I know like modern Russian history a little bit, you know, but I want to learn about past Russian history more so that I can understand like modern Russian history better. In fact, I was actually teaching myself a little bit of Russian. Freaking, bro, I have a 204-day streak on Duolingo, bro. Freaking Russian Duolingo streak, but I actually did pause my Russian learning because I was like focusing more on pumping out reaction videos. But when my channel is up and running, up and going, I am going to be focusing more on Russian, learning Russian, because I would love to learn like Russian so that I can read like Russian history so that I can actually like understand like Russian history better. Bro, I'm like kind of a I guess I'm a Russian fanboy in a sense, you know, like, but yeah, I find Russia very cool, you know. I mean, come on, it's the largest country in the world, bro. Like, the people are cool, very nice. I look forward to reacting to more of this. So, thank you for watching the video. Consider subscribing if you want. You know, if you like Epic History TV reactions, check out my other videos on my channel. Thank you, and goodbye.